In the sunlit groves of ancient Thrace, two souls were bound by a love the gods themselves would come to envy. It was said that even Aphrodite paused her endless wandering to witness the union of Orpheus and Eurydice. The temple itself seemed to glow that day, as if the stones remembered every wedding vow ever whispered within them. Marble columns rose like silent witnesses, ancient and patient, bathed in the gold of a Thracian afternoon. Orpheus, son of Apollo's gift, played a lyre so divine that rivers paused their flow to listen. It was said his music could calm the wildest beast and coax tears from stone itself. His music was not learned, but inherited, a birthright from the god of light himself, passed down through string and breath and sorrow not yet felt. Eurydice, radiant as dawn itself, moved through the wedding feast, unaware that fate had already marked her. Her laughter rang through the temple like the last note of a song about to end. Guests would later recall how she danced that evening, lightly, joyfully, as though she already sensed how little time remained, and meant to spend every second of it in motion. Wine flowed, garlands of laurel and olive were exchanged, and for one golden afternoon, the world seemed to hold its breath in celebration rather than warning. As twilight fell, Eurydice wandered from the celebration into the quiet meadow beyond, a step that would unmake everything. Perhaps she sought a moment's peace. Perhaps fate simply called, and she could not refuse it. In the tall grass, something stirred, a shadow low to the earth, patient, waiting. The meadow that had seemed so peaceful moments before now held its breath alongside her. She did not see it until it was too late. A flash of scale and shadow among the reeds, ancient and indifferent to the joy she had left behind at the temple. From the tall grass, a serpent struck, and in a single breath, the light of Orpheus's world was extinguished. No cry reached the temple in time. No hand could undo what had already been done. The wedding guests would later say they heard nothing. No scream, no warning, only the sudden, terrible silence of a celebration that did not know yet what it had lost. Orpheus found her cold upon the earth, and in his grief he vowed to challenge death itself. No god, no law, no boundary between worlds would be enough to stop him. For 3 days he did not eat. For 3 nights he did not sleep. He simply sat beside her, playing songs of sorrow so profound that even the birds fell silent to hear them. He descended where no mortal dared, through the gates of the underworld, guided only by grief and song. Behind him, the world of the living grew small and distant, swallowed by darkness. Before him stretched a realm no living eye was meant to see, vast, silent, and utterly without mercy. The air itself felt heavier here, thick with the weight of every soul that had ever passed through. Ancient warnings echoed in his mind, that no living being had ever returned from these depths, that the underworld's laws bent for no one, not even gods. He walked on regardless. At the banks of the river Styx, Charon the ferryman paused. No living soul had ever asked for passage. For a long moment, the ancient boatman simply stared, uncertain whether to refuse or relent. The dead gathered at the water's edge, drawn by a sound they had long forgotten, the sound of a living heart. Some reached toward him, not in malice, but in longing for what they themselves had lost. Orpheus played as Charon rode, and with every note, The ferryman's resolve softened, until at last the boat touched the far shore where no mortal had ever been meant to stand. Even Cerberus, the three-headed guardian of the dead, fell silent before the sound of Orpheus's lyre. Three heads that had never known rest lowered together, if only for a moment, into an unfamiliar peace. Deeper still he walked, through caverns where grief itself seemed to have carved the stone. Every wall seemed to whisper the names of those who had come before and never left. The path narrowed and darkened, and still he played, his music the only thread connecting him to the world of the living he had left behind. Before the throne of Hades and Persephone, Orpheus played a song so filled with sorrow that even death wept. It was a song that spoke not of anger or defiance, but of a love too large to be contained by loss. For a moment, the rulers of the dead forgot they were eternal, and remembered instead what it was to feel. Persephone, who herself knew the ache of separation, was the first to be moved. Hades sat unmoved for longer than any mortal could bear to wait. But even the Lord of the dead is not immune to the weight of a truly broken heart. Hades relented. Eurydice would follow him back to the world of the living. But one condition bound the gift. He must not look back until both had reached the light. It was a mercy wrapped in a warning, and warnings in the realm of the dead are rarely simple. Some say Hades knew even then how the story would end. Persephone watched them go with an expression no living being could read. Hope, perhaps, or something closer to quiet, knowing sorrow. So Orpheus began the long climb upward, Eurydice's footsteps echoing behind him. Unseen, unheard, only trusted. Trust was all he had, and it would have to be enough. Step by step, the path wound higher, the darkness behind him as heavy as the silence that filled it. Not once did he hear her voice. Not once did he feel her hand. The higher he climbed, the more the silence behind him seemed to grow. Not empty, but heavy, pressing against his resolve like a physical weight. Doubt crept into his heart with every step. Was she truly there? Had the gods deceived him? The silence behind him became unbearable, a question with no answer he could safely seek. His hands trembled on the lyre he no longer played, every fiber of him straining to simply believe. Faith, he was learning, was far heavier to carry than any instrument. Just steps from the light, doubt became too much to bear. The silence he had trusted for so long now felt like proof of abandonment rather than devotion. As the light of the living world touched his face, Orpheus turned, and in that instant he saw her, and in that same instant he lost her forever. She reached for him even as the darkness reclaimed her, her eyes holding neither anger nor surprise, only sorrow. She had known, perhaps, that this moment was always coming. "Farewell," she whispered, her voice already fading into the dark. And Orpheus was left alone at the threshold of two worlds, neither fully living nor fully lost. He stood there long after the silence returned, unable to walk forward, unable to go back. For centuries, the myth has asked the same question. Was it love that made him turn, or the very human need to know? Perhaps the tragedy was never about disobedience, but about the impossible burden of faith without proof. And so the myth endures, a mirror held up to every soul who has ever loved, doubted, and lost. Two lovers one bound by longing and one lost to shadow, forever separated by a single human glance.